Welcome to the Self-Storage Report. I'm Chris Berg with Abernathy Development. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I want to go through a couple things with you. One is I had a great phone call yesterday about storagedemandscore.com. And so I just want to answer some questions about that. Also want to say thank you to all of you that are going to storagedemandscore.com and using that as it's a tool to help you underwrite. And again, the whole goal is to help improve your returns for you, your investors, and then ideally give you a greater margin of safety. Then later on here, I want to share with you just some software that I've been cooking up using Replit and Claude. I don't really know what I'm doing, but last night I built an MCP. I don't even really know what that stands for, something protocol, but it's building some really interesting tools that are making my life easier as I'm going out there looking for assets and doing some underwriting. So maybe this can become kind of a open source, show here that we share different ideas with tech and how we can better leverage it to, again, get better returns for our investors, increase our margin of safety, and maybe most importantly, just save ourselves some time as we're going out there looking for great assets. So let's jump in here to storagedemandscore.com. Again, a friend of mine called me. I want to remind you that this was really birthed from the SSA, Self-Storage Association demand study. And then when I was at the New York SSA, Steve Cohn, been in the business for 38 years. He's the CEO at Guardian Storage out of Pittsburgh. He talked about when he goes in and does a development, what he's looking for is he wants a 3x on demand to give him that margin of safety to ensure that, hey, look, there's room here for this asset. This is something that people need. And so if someone else comes in and wants to build as well, then he feels like, hey, I've got enough margin of safety here to be comfortable to put a shovel in the ground, get major investment. So I want to walk you through this. Hopefully this will help you see it a little bit better. But basically, storage demand score, whether you're in acquisitions, whether you're in development, again, this formula is right from the Self-Storage Association. So we want to look at what's the actual total demand in a market, which I'm going to share with you how we come up with this in a second, but quickly walk you through the formula again. It's the households within a 3 or 5 mile radius, whatever that distance is. And then you take times the usage rate, which according to the SSA, nationally right now, you've got 12.6% of the households within a 3 mile radius, 5 mile radius, whatever it is that are using self-storage. And then that average usage rate is 125 square feet. So that gives you the total demand. And then you go with the total supply. So current supply, pipeline supply, which I'll show you in a minute. And then total demand minus total supply, obviously, is unmet demand. And then again, Steve Cohn from Guardian Storage is saying, hey, I want 3x my unmet demand to know that I feel very comfortable making this investment in this particular asset, putting a shovel in the ground and obviously investing, 10, 15, 20, $30 million to build his storage asset. So let's do this. Let's go over to Tract IQ. And then I want to share with you, I'll just grab a random address, if you will. Here we are. Actually, let me grab another one. Let's go to this extra space right here. Let's grab this address. I'm going to copy this. Oops, I need to share this with you. And also, I want to thank Tract IQ. The storage demand score is now being powered by Tract IQ, which you're going to see in a minute. But go over to Tract IQ. I'm just going to grab this address as a simple example to share with you how this tool works and how effective it can be. So all you've got to do is you put in the address, which obviously we just copied there from thanks to Tract IQ. Let's say I'm going to put 75,000 net rentable square feet in there, put in what that project looks like or what I think it's going to be. Click here for the demand score. And now this is attached to Tract IQ. So it's going to pull the data for us. And then I'll share with you how. So here's what's great. So you can see here, not a good demand score for this particular address within 3 miles and or 5 miles. What's nice now is it's also pulling out your rates for a 10 by 10 in the 1 mile, 3 mile, and 5 miles. You got climate control, non-climate. So you can see the rates, which is obviously an important metric when you're thinking about demand drivers. But then let's go down here. And I want to show you the 3 mile because that's kind of the typical, obviously, metric that we utilize in self-storage. So you can see what it does is it pulls the total number of households in that 3 mile, multiplies that by 0.126 or 12.6%, times 125, which is the average square feet that a family uses for self-storage. That gives you your total demand score here. already within this marketplace. There's a total, including pipeline supply, of almost 1.4 million. So you take the total demand minus the effective supply, come up with a negative number. You multiply that, divide that by your total project size, and that gives you the score. So again, even if you're doing acquisitions, you can always put a 0 or a very small amount up here for net rentable square feet for the proposed project size. But again, this is just a metric to give you an idea of, hey, how much demand is actually in this market based on a formula. A lot of people in this industry, they talk about supply, but very few people are actually talking about demand, especially from a formulaic perspective. So it's not the Bible, but it just gives you one more metric as you're going to maybe your investment review committee or as you're underwriting to say, hey, I can see very clearly here that there is unmet demand for the product that I want to put in this marketplace, just to give you some more margin of safety and ideally to decrease your return. So again, you can just go to storagedemandscore.com. Thank you to Tract IQ. They're now powering this via API. Put in your address, put in the net rentable square feet, hit the button, and it'll walk you right through what that actual demand score is. And again, it walks you through the formula and everything, so you can have a pretty good idea of what you're looking at there from a demand standpoint. All right, now I want to jump into this. So this is some tech that we have built from just a pipeline perspective. I don't know if any of you use Trello. I got to pull this thing so I can share this tab. So what I did is I'm using Claude and Replit, and I built an MCP, and I want to show you how that's actually making my life much easier from an underwriting standpoint. This is a first draft. Again, I just want to share this with you because maybe this can become kind of a crowdsource type show. As you're finding cool tech stuff you can share with our audience, as I'm finding it. Obviously, I'll be sharing it with you. But so this is a pipeline that we're utilizing. We built this really from scratch. Here's what I like about it. I'll give you just an example. I can go into this particular sourced asset here that we found. We've actually now, and hopefully you can see this. I'll blow it up a little bit more for you. But we've got a score breakdown on these actual sites. You can put in the asking price, lot size, square foot per capita, CC rate, population. I mean, there's obviously I can add it here. I think this is one of the most amazing things that I'm finding. You're going to get hopefully blown away when I show you how I'm utilizing this MCP. But this is Replit. I don't want to get too wonky. I'm not a tech guy. All I want you to really take away from this is that I'm literally going into Replit. I have this thing called Whisper. Hopefully you've heard of it, but I basically talk to my computer. And for example, here, if I wanted to add another key field to this, I could basically just go into Replit and go, hey, Replit, add XYZ field in my key fields piece. And literally Replit will just, let me go back to Replit here, but Replit will just go to work and just do it. Maybe I should even just try this so I can, let's see if it works. Let's see, what do I want to add to my key fields? I'm just going to put XYZ and see if it does that. And I can always just take it out, but it's fascinating to watch how simple this is. Cause again, I'm not a tech guy and yet it does it. So in my key fields, I want you to add an XYZ in the key field. In the key field, I want you to add an XYZ key field. Okay, there it did it. So you can see I just spoke to my computer. I am using Whisper. It goes into this. I'm going to hit run. And now this thing just goes to work. And eventually, if we want, I can come back here and I'll put publish and you'll be able to see it. Anyways, so that is how it works. But it's been fascinating to watch how incredibly simple it is to build out customized tech platforms as you're going out there and looking for great assets. So with all that being said, what I want to share with you now is that, again, this is a first draft, but I want to share they actually built an MCP. Let me just be patient with me because it takes a little moment to bring up. And it gets a little bit wonky to share, but hopefully you can see this. And I'm going to make this full screen. So this is just a very simple, like underwriting piece. I got this in a Claude project. I'm going to use this address just to give you some ideas of what I built here. But what's cool is this is actually attached to that CRM tech that I just showed you. And so literally what I can do is I can say, hey, pull the address out of the CRM and I want to do a stress test on the underwriting here. And then it builds this visualization grid, if you will, and it gives me an idea of what I can pay for land price, especially if I'm solving for a 20% IRR. Now, this is not a great example, as you're going to see in a minute, but I just want to again show you how simple this is. Right now, I can say, okay, I'm solving for a 5-year 20% IRR. I've got a 25-year AM on my note. And let's say that the rates are, I'm going to put my rates up to, we'll say 215 as an example, right? So now what hard costs, right here, I've got 120. I'm going to say my construction cost just for ease today, $100 a gross square foot. All right. Then I've got an exit cap rate of, let's say 5.5, I'll say. Here's my interest rate on the loan. And this starts to walk me through. Now, this guy's asking 9.8 million, okay, on this asset. He says he's an escrow with an industrial guy, but at 9.8, my 5-year IRR is 5.4%. Clearly, this is a no. What's cool, though, is it comes down here and gives you some different metrics. You can sort of look at, hey, what if I'm at 175? What if I'm at 225? So it quickly gives you this grid. But what I really love about it, I was thinking, okay, I'm solving for a 20. What can I pay here? Again, this is a very rough beginner, but what I love about this is now it gives me a chance to go, before I start bringing sites to my investment review committee, hey, is this realistic? Is the guy going to take 4.2 when he's asking 9.8? Probably not. I can take this thing off the board, not have to worry about wasting anybody's time with our investment review committee, but it allows me to really see, okay, what are some assets here that have got some potential just by simply rolling through here. So according to this very rough, underwriting, I've got some underwriting models inside of the Claude project of this. Shows here I can pay roughly 3.9. He's asking 9.8. That's probably going to be a no, right? But what's cool is like I can also say, well, hey, what if my construction costs are 120? What if I'm in a more difficult area? My construction costs go to 120, but I know I've got, man, this is a really outstanding market where there's very low supply, there's great rates, and all of a sudden I say, okay, I can get 250 on a 10 by 10 real quick. I know my hard costs are going to be 120. Now I can start to play with my land prices here and see, hey, what's going to be my 5-year, 7-year IRR, just to give me a ballpark idea of what can I potentially put together for an LOI, bring to my investment review committee. Maybe we realize that, hey, this isn't accurate. There's a bunch of development impact fees that now make this thing so I can only pay 3 million rather than 4.7, for example. But I want to share with you, this is all done with an MCP inside of Claude. I'm not a tech guy. Don't really know how I know how I built it, but I just talked to Replit and it builds this thing where now you've got this visualization grid. So wanted you to take a look at this so you can begin to say, okay, what else is possible out there? What else can we be doing to leverage some of this tech to really help us, again, increase returns for your firm, for your investors, give yourself a greater margin of safety, put in better offers, and most importantly, just save you some time, right? I mean, you and I both know if you're out there doing acquisitions and looking for assets, there's nothing worse than you just wasting time looking at sites that have got absolutely nowhere to go. Next level for this thing too is there is a zoning agent that we do have in the pipeline. Again, don't want to get too wonky here, but I just want to share with you one more piece that you can take a look at to give you an idea. So here I can, click a button if I want to run a zoning agent on this and have it go and scrape like city documents. Let me make sure you're seeing this okay, because you're not right now, of course. Sorry about that. Anyways, there's a zoning agent here where I can hit a button and it can go and scrape city documents, help me do from a zoning standpoint as well. So it's just fascinating to see that all this was built with Replit, me talking to the computer. It doesn't come out perfect the first time. I think that's one thing that's important to know. If you start getting into this Replit and tech side of things, you're going to have to do some different iterations. I think one of the best things you can do is just go to Claude and go, hey, Claude, this is what I want to build. Give me the copy and paste that I should put into Replit to build that. And it just kind of gives you a starting base. For example, the MCP that I built last night, I had to go through several different iterations to get it to actually start talking to each other. But once it did, then you can see, and let me get rid of this because I just want to show you this one more time because I just think it's fantastic. Then you can see it spits out this opportunity. How do I do this? There you go. Where now I've got this really cool, again, first draft, not a final, but situation here where I can play around with. I'm trying to solve for a 20% IRR. What can I pay for the land? What kind of rental rates do I need, and how does that impact my 5-year IRR? How does it impact what I can pay for the dirt? Pretty quickly, and it gives you some just different ways to examine and look at. What if I'm planning on my exit cap is actually going to be a 6 rather than a 5.5? What does that do to it? So would love to hear how you're using tech, what you're doing to save yourself some time. Let's see if I can get myself back on screen. See, this is how tech inept I am, and yet I'm building MCPs with Replit and some Claude. So hopefully this shows you how simple this can be. And so I hope you're having some fun with it. We'd love to know what else you're doing or seeing out there from a tech standpoint to help make your life easier. This is the Self-Storage Report. Please share this with your colleagues. Love to get some feedback from them as well. If you're going to ISS, I'm not going, unfortunately. I'm going to a bunch of SSA events. I was in New York in January, and Florida in February, and Texas in March. And so I was like, okay, I'm pretty much conferenced out, but would love to hear if you end up going to ISS in Vegas, what the vibe is, what the combos are. So please let me know that as well. And we'll see you back here soon on the Self-Storage Report.